Welcome back to our channel. Today we will explore how to recreate the drum sound from Tesseract War of Being, using the Fame and Fury library and some free plugins. Let's first compare the original track and our mix with Hertz drums. How do you like it? Leave a comment below. I'm Wojtek, a music producer with more than 25 years of experience at Hertz Recording Studio. I've worked with bands like Behemoth, Vader and Decapitated. I'm here to share my experience with you. Check out my other educational videos on how to recreate drum sound from bands like Metallica, Nirvana and many more. You'll find all the links below. So first go to the audio routing and click on multi-outs routing. This way you will have individual instrument groups on separate outputs in your digital audio workstation, so you can use your favorite plugins. Note that DI signals are separated from overheads, room and reverb. This routing allows you to apply EQ or compression to the snare and process the ambient sound separately. For both bass drums, I'm using Dead Blow kick with microphone C, pitched down to -0.3. The settings on both kicks are identical. How do I choose the right instrument? Well, it's more of gut feeling, but what really helps me out is that in the Hertz drums, I can quickly preview the samples just by clicking on them in the library. In this case, Dead Blow aligns well with the reference in terms of pitch and attack. But there is one thing we need to do. Give the kick a bit more punch to make it snappier. On the Hertz drums output 2, which is our kick right, I added EQ SSQ by Analog Obsession. It's a free EQ that's perfect for tweaking higher tones. Just boost around 12 dB at 8 kHz and listen to how it blends into the mix. But that's not all. Listen carefully to the original mix and pay attention to the kick drum sound. I can hear that the kick has less attack, and it's less boomy when played faster. To replicate this, you need to separate the fast and slow hits and process them separately. Open your MIDI file and switch all the double bass notes from C1 to B0. Please note that I always keep the first note on the double strokes on C1, so the first hit is more powerful than the faster B0 hits. Now the right kick plays the single hits and the left kick joins during the double bass hits. This technique replicates the natural dynamics of a drummer, with the right leg typically being stronger than the left one, and it's a common trick among producers. I first used it on Organic Hallucinosis by Decapitated, and it has worked well for me ever since. Load the same settings on the left kick as on the right one. Add an SSQ EQ by Analog Obsession, cut 8 dB at 90 Hz, and add 2 or 3 dB around 9 kHz. For the snare, I'm using the core snare, microphone B. I've inverted the phase on the snare's overhead channel and trimmed the reverb tail to 870 milliseconds. With an EQ, I've boosted 288 Hz by 5 dB and 448 Hz by 8 dB, while making a 4 dB cut around 5 kHz with a high shelf. These EQ settings recreate the character of the reverb used in Tesseract sounds. I've also added a second EQ, the SSQ, to enhance the snare's punch and attack. I added 6 dB at 120 Hz and 8 dB around 500 kHz. Now, let's hear how this additional EQ affects the snare. Right after EQ, I added the free Colin MB compressor, made by Analog Obsession, to bring out more body in the reverb, aiming to achieve a pleasing pumping snare sound. Here I'm using a slow attack at 35 milliseconds, release at 400 milliseconds, a low crossover at 310 Hz, meaning everything below this frequency is compressed. The output at 8 dB and the input at 25 dB. Moving on to the toms. I'm using the set of toms from Fame and Fury library with microphone C on all of them. I'm pitching them all down to the -2 and 7. There are two ways of doing this in Hertz drums. First, with one of the toms selected, I can move the pitch slider to the left while holding the Shift key, and the pitch will change on all toms at once. Or I can go to the mixer, switch to the group view, and instead of pan slider, there is a pitch control for the whole group. Here, you can adjust the pitch of any instrument group. Let's listen to the toms in the mix. Let's move on to the overheads. Channel Hertz Drums 13. I've used a low shelf EQ, cutting 6 dB at 360 Hz and adding 6 dB around 2 kHz with a high shelf. This adds some nice brightness not only to the cymbals but also to the kick, snare and toms. On the channel Hertz Drums 14, we've got our room microphones. I've added 9 dB at 400 Hz, 2 dB at 1.3 kHz, and I'm using high shelf, cutting 4 dB at 1.3 kHz, which is pretty close to what I'm hearing in Tesseract mix. Then I'm also using another plugin called Track Control by DMG Audio to widen the stereo image of the room microphones. Now I will move on the channel HD15, which is the reverb group channel for the whole kit. Here I'm using a similar EQ, boosting 11 dB at around 440 Hz and 6 dB at 750 Hz, and cutting 6 dB at 2.7 kHz with a high shelf. I also added track control, just like on the room channel, but with a slightly smaller value of 126%. And a 6 millisecond delay. I'm sending all these channels to Hertz Drum Bass group without any plugins or EQ. But I'm also sending the signal in parallel to another group called Hertz Drums Bass Parallel, where I'm using an EQ and 2 compressors. This parallel group gives me better control over the dynamics. I can automate its volume in the mix to give the drums more or less punch in the different sections of the song. On the Hertz Drums Bass Parallel channel, I'm cutting the low end by about -14 dB at around 80 Hz to enhance the body and snap of the drums. The first compressor I use is Comper by Analog Obsession. It combines two compressors in one. Let's listen to how this compressor affects the mix. Next compressor is Road Rider 3 by Audio Damage. A free one again. I like it because it can be pushed hard with a smooth sound, even at very low thresholds and high compression levels. I hope you can hear the difference. That's all for today's session. I had a lot of fun making this episode, and I hope my tips will help you improve your mixes. Subscribe to our channel to support us. You will find all the links in the description, including the mix-ready Hertz drum preset for the Fame and Fury pack I used in this video. See you!